Okay, so I'm going to talk about blood alcohol concentration. I think that's something that everyone has heard of before, whether they've heard it as BAC or blood alcohol concentration. So what that means is blood alcohol concentration represents the percent of your blood that contains alcohol at that time. So an example would be a blood alcohol concentration of 0.10 means that 10% of your blood contains alcohol. And for reference, for most states, a blood alcohol concentration of above 0.08 is illegal to drive with. And then I have a chart that kind of explains how you're affected the higher the concentration goes. So a mild impairment is considered up to 0.05%, which isn't a lot. And it goes all the way up to life-threatening, which is 0.45% blood alcohol concentration. So that's when it gets really dangerous. Okay, and then I have another chart that just gives you a reference for how many drinks gets you to a certain level of concentration. So for example, if you weigh about 130 pounds and you have about 3 drinks, that gets you to about 0.087% of blood alcohol concentration, which would be past that legal driving limit. Of course, this depends on a bunch of different things like your whether you're male or female, what you've eaten that day, how quickly you've had those drinks, and things like that. But this is just kind of a reference for how many drinks equals that percentage of alcohol. And then I have a video that explains the different serving sizes of alcohol as well.
Hi, this is Presh Talker. In this video, we're going to describe the math of what a standard drink is. In America, they often say that 1 beer is equal to 1 glass of wine, which is also equal to 1 shot of hard alcohol. But where did they come up with this equivalency between different types of alcohol? The reason is the definition of a standard drink is 0.6 fluid ounces of alcohol, and each of these drinks actually contains that amount of alcohol. We can verify this by looking at the alcohol percentage of each of the drinks, and we'll also write down the standard serving size of each of these drinks. When we multiply the alcohol percentage by the drink size, we find that each of these drinks contains the standard 0.6 fluid ounces of alcohol. And this is great for theory, but what happens in practice? Let's say you go to a bar and order a tall craft beer. Now, very likely, this tall craft beer may have 7% alcohol, and a tall beer is often served in a 23-ounce glass. So what you end up with is about 2.7 standard drinks. Similarly, if you get a cocktail and someone serves you a strong cocktail, you may end up with something which has a little bit higher alcohol percentage, and it might have a little more alcohol than the standard serving. And so you'll end up with more than just 1 standard drink. You could even run into trouble with wine. Many wines, in fact, are not 12%, but they are 15%, and someone might serve you a little more than a standard serving size. So even with wine, you can end up with nearly double the amount of alcohol. So if you want to keep track of this number of drinks you're having in a night, you can follow this formula. The number of standard drinks will be equal to the volume times the alcohol percentage divided by 0.6. The numerator tells you how much alcohol is in your drink, and the denominator standardizes this to 1 drink equivalent. You can often find the alcohol percentage just by looking at the label and looking for the ABV, which is the alcohol by volume. There are many websites and even smartphone apps that will do this calculation for you. But if you find this is all too much trouble, you can save yourself the calculation, the calories, and the cash by choosing not to drink for the night. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I make videos on math and game theory. You can support me on Patreon to get exclusive rewards. Catch me on my blog, Mind Your Decisions, on Twitter at Presh Talker, and you can get my books listed on my website.
Okay, so I think that summarized standard serving sizes of alcohol pretty well. The biggest things to take away from that video is that a standard drink doesn't necessarily refer to just the fluid ounces of the drink. It's talking about the actual pure alcohol in the drink. So a standard drink is roughly 14 grams of pure alcohol, whether that's a few ounces of whiskey or if it's a lot of ounces of a light beer. So some examples are regular beer, about 12 ounces will get you that same amount for a serving size. For wine, they're usually a little bit more concentrated, so about 5 ounces of wine is usually a serving size. And then for spirits, the same thing, they're a lot more concentrated, so about 1.5 ounces will get you generally the serving size, or a standard drink. Okay, and then influencing factors of blood alcohol concentration. There's a couple of different things that will influence the concentration of alcohol in your blood. A large factor is food, whether or not you've eaten before you drink, and also the type of food. Fatty foods tend to slow the absorption of alcohol more than non-fatty foods. Your weight and your gender and your age are also things that can influence your blood alcohol concentration. The rate of consumption, how often or how quickly you're drinking those drinks, whether it's 3 drinks in the time span of an hour or if it's 3 drinks in the time span of 4 hours or something like that. The concentration of the alcohol, again, that goes back to standard serving size, whether you're drinking liquor like whiskey or you're drinking a light beer. And then the drinker's body composition, that goes to height and weight, things like that as well. Can all factor blood alcohol concentration. And then the levels of intoxication, there are generally 6 stages. You have euphoria, the first stage, which is usually about just a drink or 2. It consists of diminished attention and judgment, loss of efficiency, and you become really talkative. That's usually when people kind of feel good and they're having a good time. Excitement is the next one. That's when you have a little bit of impaired perception and memory and loss of vision and you become drowsy. Then comes confusion. You become disoriented, emotional, your speech gets slurred, things like that. And then comes stupor. You're unable to stand or walk. That's usually when people start vomiting. They don't respond to other people when they're talking to them. And then you have coma. Usually you would be unconscious. That's when people pass out. They might continue to vomit, things like that. That's when you start to get sick, and when you get alcohol poisoning. And then after that is death. If you keep consuming alcohol after that, you will go into a coma and probably die. So don't do that. And those are my sources. And that's it.